The 10th commissioner in the history of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred. Good to see you, Commissioner.
Good to see you too, Rich.
How often do you speak to Bud Selig, your predecessor?
Oh, at least once a week.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. When I worked for Bud, he would always call me, and it would be multiple times a day. Since I became commissioner, he always waits for me to call him.
Huh.
But I try to do it at least once a week, and he likes to be caught up on things, but he's been very gracious about letting me initiate the conversation.
So, I mean, what do you guys talk about, if you don't mind me being a fly on the wall?
Well, sometimes we talk about substance. If there's an issue that I'm dealing with, he's a great source of advice. 23 years, he saw most of them in some shape or form. And sometimes it's just catching up. He likes to know what's going on in the game. It was kind of his lifeblood for 23 years. And, just kind of catch up who's doing what.
What is the issue that you are dealing with? Baseball's begun. Another season has started. I mean, we're about a week in.
This is actually the best time of year because all of the off-season conversation about the game and the economics and all of those issues go away because we're playing again, and it's a great time of year for us, really focused on the field right now.
Right, so there's really not much in your inbox in that regard?
Well, it just takes – my inbox is always full, okay? But it takes the public, the media focus off the business side of the game and gets it where it really belongs on the field.
On the field. And baseball has begun so far. Just a couple of questions about the fact that we have some good players who have not been signed yet. Mm-hmm. And it is surprising to many that somebody of Dallas Keuchel's ability or Craig Kimbrell's ability is not signed. Does it alarm you at all?
Look, I have confidence that the market will ultimately clear, that they will find deals. But there is no question that the timing of the market has changed. You got smart people on both sides of the negotiations, agents and clubs. They use timing as leverage in negotiations on both sides. And I do think it's unfortunate that the back and forth has produced a couple really good players that are out there unsigned at this point.
So is there any push at all? Because you see, so much being discussed in the NBA about July 1st. That's the day.
Yeah.
And the NFL, when their new league year opens up, so much activity happens on one day, and both leagues can use that as a spotlight. Obviously, your league does not have a salary cap, and obviously the salary cap in both of those sports spurs actions right away. Is there, short of obviously a cap, which would be a whole different story, a movement afoot potentially within your office or your mindset to try and create a back end of free agency to push it all in a certain spot?
Well, here's the problem with deadlines. You have to deadlines, as you correctly point out. The calendar in both the NBA and the NFL is driven by their cap system.
Right.
We do not have a similar issue. So creating a deadline without ramifications associated with it, it's not much of a deadline. We have talked about, we'd love to have, the winter meetings be the place where it all gets done and we're finished with it. But as long as we have what is the freest free agency system in professional sports, something the MLBPA has bargained hard for over the years, the timing is going to move with that market.
Yeah, because I guess, Harper didn't sign until preseason games, exhibition games are being played.
Right.
And it just could create some confusion maybe in the mindset.
Well, it's interesting. There was a recap done of the Harper negotiations in advance of him playing in Washington this week. And, his agent told him early on, it's in the article, it's probably going to be March 1 before you sign. That's an interesting assertion. I think supports what I'm saying about both agents and clubs using the timing, the calendar, as a source of leverage in the negotiations. I think the other thing that the article made really clear is that, the timing of when you respond, right? Washington made a very early kind of preemptive offer to Harper, and at least if the article's accurate, took Harper's side a long time to get back to him.
And so if it just to put a button on it, if you had your druthers, the winter meetings where everyone was out in Vegas. It was a week-long
Right.
extra. I mean, I was watching on MLB Network and just seeing all the general managers pass by and
Right.
all the bold-faced names from the sport pass by. If you had your druthers, it would be all done there, and you'd be wrapped up and
Yeah, I mean,
marketing like crazy coming off of that.
I think there's a positive and a negative, right? I mean, I think that the positive of, a flurry of activity when you own a week in December when it's your off season, that's a really great thing. The second thing it does is it puts it behind you. All the stories about who's signing, not signing, they're done. And you can move on, getting ready for the season and looking forward to who's going to be good and how the clubs are going to play.
Rob Manfred here on the Rich Eisen Show, the commissioner of baseball. The question of the schedule with the Mets, Noah Syndergaard not happy about it. Did you hear about it from the Mets about playing a night game and then having a home opener early in the afternoon and one of the players having to take a drug test to keep the team held up for an hour?
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously, we like to be sensitive to travel concerns. Our players play a really tough schedule, right? 162 times and now 187 days. But the fact of the matter is, one of the keys to a really strong drug program, which is what we have, is a lack of predictability. If players know they're not going to be tested on a game day when they have to travel afterward, that's a weakness in the program. So while I don't love the inconvenience, I'm really sympathetic to what some of the Mets players said. I think the larger issue is that we have a drug program that is completely unpredictable in terms of when you're going to be tested, and that's a good thing.
Okay. My Red Sox friend Chris Brockman over there is probably, this is born out of the record that the Red Sox currently have, right? What's their record right now, Chris? What's their record right now?
2-6.
Okay. That starting the season on the road for a World Series champion is something that obviously you can't prevent,
Right.
because the schedule's done before the season's over.
Right.
Did I get that right, Chris?
Yes.
Okay. So on behalf of Red Sox fans, what about the idea about creating a schedule after the season's over?
Well, we have an obligation under the collective bargaining agreement to give a schedule to the Players Association in July,
Right.
to give them an opportunity to comment on it and get it in place. Secondly, the clubs like to sell against it, right? They don't want to wait until who the World Series champ is. And it's interesting. Everybody looks at our schedule and they say, oh, you should do this, you should do that. Well, another consideration, right, is Boston is a cold weather city. They started on the road where it was warmer, and they will open at home where hopefully they've had another week and a half for it to heat up. So, there's just a lot of considerations that go into who starts where.
So it's climate change, Chris. Okay.
I understand.
Just-
But part of my point is that other sports, the NFL and the NBA in particular, have done a great job making the opening night of the season with their respective champions a big event. And I think baseball could take this, look at them, and use it as an opportunity to do the same.
Yeah, I think that I think from a practical perspective, to start building a schedule once you know who wins the World Series, you just don't have enough time to do it. You remember it's 2,430 games,
Right.
as opposed to a much more limited number.
256 for football, right?
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a more complicated process, and from a timing perspective, probably not workable.
Rob Manfred here on the Rich Eisen Show. We had Alex Bregman in our show studio, and he was awesome.
Yeah.
Just awesome. And the thing that I really enjoyed about him and meeting him is he's like, young players, we want to sell this game. Like,
Yeah.
we want to get out there. Have you sensed that from the younger players that they're
Yeah,
ready
we have-
to roll?
We have a younger group of players.
Right.
They're really appealing from a talent level. I mean, let's start there. That always helps, right? I mean,
Sure.
they're just really great players.
Right.
Much more active on social media. You saw a whole group of them. I don't know if you've seen the second edition
Yes.
of Let the Kids Play.
It was fun.
Really a lot of fun, and I think those players are important to the game, to the future of our game, to the marketing of the game.
Yeah, I love that kid.
Yeah.
He's really
Really clever.
right, and it's a one way to it's a
Yeah.
good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yelich as well. I mean, and he's raking starting the season.
Yeah.
Also.
No, look, I think that I think that to the extent that younger players find time, again, within this schedule, we've talked about the schedule a lot here already, but,
Right.
you know, when you play every day, it's harder. You know, you just don't have that much time. And to the extent that we have younger guys who are finding a way to get themselves out there, engage on social media, market the game, market themselves, build their brand, you know, their individual brand within this, you know, really grueling schedule that we have, that's a huge plus for us.
Do you like bat flips when you see it?
Look, I like the idea of players being able to show their emotion. You know, I think that it gives the fan some insight into who the player is, and you know, however they demonstrate that emotion and commitment to the game, I think it's a good thing. The other thing, you know, I am a believer that the sort of unwritten rules of the game are the players. They belong to the players, right? They made them up. They enforced them. You know, they did. And, you know, the fact of the matter is this generation of players is different, and there's nothing wrong with them changing the unwritten rules in a way that I actually happen to believe is good for the game.
Yeah, I mean, Harper's bat flip in particular was just what a dramatic night that was, where the fans were just really giving him the business. The Nationals Twitter account was giving him the business, and then the Phillies Twitter account gave it right back when he bat flipped and hit the heck out of that baseball.
You know, it's interesting. You have to give Bryce credit, right? He does seem to have the ability to come up big in a big moment. I mean, you saw it in the home run derby last year. You know, it was a great moment. Made our broadcast fabulous, great for the fans in Washington. And, you know, with all the swirl that you're referring to with him being back in Washington to do it again, you know, you just hats off to him.
We were saying it looked like the home run derby. I mean, where he placed the baseball.
Right.
It looked like it was one of those pink bonus balls, you know, and in the two-handed flip, it was something else. What is the relationship right now between you and the front office and the Players Association? Because it does seem that there's rhetoric that's beginning to ratchet a little bit here.
Look, we've tried to be careful about the rhetoric on our side. We really have. But there's no question that Tony is dealing with some dissatisfaction among his players about how the current agreement has operated. In some ways, that's puzzling to us. You know, you think about this offseason, we spent $4 billion on guaranteed dollars on free agent contracts and extensions. That's an all-time record. We set individual records in terms of guaranteed dollars in contracts like the Harper contract, the Trout contract. Yet we have this discontent. My thought with respect to that is that rhetoric publicly is not going to address the concerns. We have told Tony, even though we're a couple of years away from expiration, that we're prepared to get in a room and talk to him about whatever it is that's causing this dissatisfaction. That hadn't happened yet. We've made the offer. We made it a year ago during spring training. We made a written agreement that kind of committed to starting those talks after opening day this year. And, you know, we're waiting to hear from Tony on that one.
So, because from just hearing from the players, again, I guess coming back full circle a little bit, Rob Manfred, Commissioner of Baseball here, is that some players don't have gigs right now. And some players are waiting to hear if they're going to have a gig until the very end. And then some older players are getting sabermetricked out of the game.
Right.
And that these are all problems that the front offices and Major League Baseball's management needs to deal with.
Well, you know, I don't disagree with the idea that, you know, maybe those are problems. I think that we have offered to get in a room and deal with them with the Players Association. That's the only way that legally, it's the only way we can deal with those problems. And the way I think about it is this, you know, the union has always bargained for a free market. The free market speaks, right? It speaks that certain stars are getting really big dollar contracts and other players have struggled more in that free market. If the union wants that market to operate in a different way, they have to, they got to come forward, tell us this is the outcome we're looking to achieve, and here's how we think we might be able to do it. And then that bargaining process is available to address those problems. We're good with the agreement we made in 2016. We really are. I mean, we made a deal. We're prepared to live with the deal till 2021.
And which of the playing rule proposals that are being thrown out there do you want to see passed the most? That's the question here.
Look, I think that the one thing that was probably my highest priority, kind of contrary to the publicity surrounding it, was the rule or the agreement we reached on roster sizes. I think September has been a problem for us for a long time. I think it slows the game down when you have arguably 40 players available, a lot of pitching changes. But more important than just slowing the game down, it doesn't seem right to me that we should play the most important games of the year in September with a different set of rules than we play all year long. So I think that was a huge change. I'm glad that we were able to make that agreement with the union. We tried to make it in 2016 and just didn't quite get there. So I think that's an important change. I think that after that, I would focus, without getting into any particular rule, I think it's important that we try to look at rules that will increase the action in the game.
Yes.
Forget about time. I'm not so worried about time.
You're saying that?
Yeah. I mean, look.
That sounds...
I'd like to be faster, but I think that it's a dual problem. I mean, you can be long if you have lots of action. If you don't have much action, you got to be tighter on time, and you should be looking to induce some action in the game.
Yes, it's quality of play, not pace of play, as far as I'm concerned.
And by the way, I don't believe that we're looking to change the game. The way, and I really believe this, if you look at the numbers, and I look at them every day, the game is changing organically, right? We are getting less action. We're getting more strikeouts. We're getting more home runs, right? I mean, the outcomes, less balls in play, more time between balls in play. All those things are changing. And the question is, how are we going to manage that change? I'm not looking to change it for the sake of changing it. I'm looking to manage the organic change that's going on so we preserve the game as we've traditionally known it.
Well, as you know, Commissioner Manfred, I always posit a theory and a potential rule change. I don't just talk about it. I'm being about it. I want to leave you in a better place, Commissioner.
I appreciate the help.
And by that, through that, sport as a whole.
Right.
I hate the shift with a passion. I hate the shift that if you had a third baseman and a second baseman had to have at least 1 foot on their side of the base, as it's traditionally known, and the first and second baseman at least 1 foot on their side of second base, as it's traditionally known, I think we're opening things up. Now, managers, I think, would go absolutely nuts over that sort of thing. And I know that Ted Williams used to be shifted against. I get it. But this is a different – the way I look at it is in the world of football, when Mel Blount came in and they had to change the rules to make sure that you had to give the wide receivers at least 5 yards before you could contact them. It opened up offense. It opened things up. I'm feeling like this is the same exact thing with baseball, right?
Okay, so let's try to put this in the kind of framework where I think about it. First of all, there's no doubt. I mean, I know they shifted against Ted Williams, but if you look at the we have increased geometrically year after year the number of shifts that are out there, right? So that is a change in the game. That's not baseball, the clubs, anybody trying to change the game. It is organically, the organizations, the clubs are looking at this and saying, I think I can win one more game by doing X, right?
It's shifted.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And so I do think that the idea of kind of putting players back to the positioning that they used to have, I don't think that would be a bad rule change for us to talk about. I actually think it'd be a good one. Now, I will tell you, even among the clubs, there's a difference of opinion about that. Some people don't think it would actually change the way the game is played by trying to force people back into position. But I do think it's an example of the broader phenomenon that I was talking about before, the game changing and raising the question of whether we ought to regulate.
I think because, again, I understand the concept that just hit the ball where they ain't. That's as ancient as they as a phrase you can get in
Right.
baseball, right? But I'm not showing to the park to watch Bryce Harper maybe bunt up the left field line or try and go the other way. And I'm also not paying to see people trying to swing from their heels to try and hit it over. That's where more strikeouts comes. At least this is my theory. You would obviously know the metrics and the numbers better than I would.
I think your analysis is right. I mean, I think so. Here's how the debate kind of evolved historically, internally.
Yeah.
People started shifting more, right? And everybody said, these are the greatest athletes in the world. Don't worry about it. The players will adjust, and we'll get past this phenomenon.
Right.
Okay, and everyone was speculating that the adjustment would be go the other way, where somebody is not. They were right about 2/3 of it. They are the greatest athletes in the world, right? They will adjust. Unfortunately, the way they adjusted was not going the other way. It was, as you point out, going up over the top, and that has spurred additional changes in the game that is, led to more of the, as people call them, true outcomes.
So then the last question for you, Commissioner Manfred, is how does this get thrown out? Is this part of a collective bargaining agreement conversation?
Yeah, look, I have, we have certain rights to act unilaterally on rule changes. That's kind of normal in a labor environment, right? Fundamental issues about what your product is, you should have the right to act unilaterally. I've been reluctant to do that. I have, multiple winters in a row gone to the players and tried to reach negotiated agreements as to what the change should look like. I've done that because I respect what the players think. They control what goes on the field. And frankly, I've done it out of a larger concern for our labor relations.
Well, I always appreciate you coming in here. Thanks.
It's great talking to you.
It is great chatting with you. I love our chats. And so your next stop is Fenway. You'll be there to give out the rings?
I will, and I'm excited about ring ceremonies are a great baseball tradition. You see even the most grizzled veteran player turn into a little kid when he gets his World Series ring, and it's a great thing.
Well, what's also shifted is the number of jewels that are on these things now.
They are nice.
They just get bigger and bigger.
They are nice.
And bigger. And they're always up in New England, too. It's crazy. All right, stop it. I don't know why I threw you that bone at the end of our conversation. Good to see you, Commissioner
Good to see you,
Manfred. That's
too,
Rob
Rich.
Manfred, Commissioner Baseball.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.